The cameras had barely begun to roll when the air in the studio thickened with tension. The show's host introduced the segment with a nervous smile, his voice slightly shaky as if he knew what was about to unfold. Millions of viewers tuned in, expecting a heated debate, but no one was prepared for what came next. Tyrus, the outspoken commentator known for never backing down, leaned forward in his chair, his eyes narrowing at Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. "Governor," he began, his voice calm but edged with steel, "for years, you've painted yourself as the man of the people, a leader who puts integrity above all else. But what if the truth isn't as pure as you've led everyone to believe?" The audience gasped. Cameras zoomed in on Walz's face. His smile faltered. His fingers twitched on the armrest. He hadn't expected Tyrus to come armed with receipts, real documents, testimony, and leaked recordings that painted a very different picture. For a moment, the governor tried to deflect. He launched into practiced political rhetoric, praising his administration's accomplishments, talking about schools, infrastructure, and healthcare. But Tyrus didn't flinch. He pulled a folded sheet from his jacket pocket and held it up to the camera. "This, Governor, is from a whistleblower in your own office. It says funds meant for struggling families were redirected elsewhere. Not to the people who needed it, but to line pockets." The room fell silent. Even the host sat frozen, unsure of what to do. Tim Walz erupted. His voice thundered across the studio. "This is outrageous. You don't know the first thing about leadership, about the weight of decisions that come across my desk every day. Do you think it's easy? Do you think we don't make sacrifices for the greater good? You sit there and judge while I carry the burden of an entire state." His hands shook as he spoke, veins rising on his forehead. His anger wasn't just at Tyrus, it was at being cornered, stripped of control on national television. But beneath the rage was something else, fear. The audience could see it. And fear is what made his words ring hollow. Tyrus didn't shout back. Instead, he leaned in closer and lowered his tone, forcing the governor, and everyone watching, to pay attention. Leadership isn't about hiding mistakes. It isn't about using power to cover secrets. Leadership is about standing up, admitting where you've failed, and choosing to do better. You're angry because you've been exposed, but Governor, maybe this is your chance to prove you're more than just a politician. The words hit harder than any accusation. For a moment, Walz seemed smaller, almost fragile. He looked away from the cameras, his jaw tightening. The studio audience shifted uneasily, some sympathetic, others outraged. This wasn't just about politics anymore, it was about humanity, pride, and the universal struggle between truth and denial. The conversation dragged into deeper territory. Viewers learned about families who had gone hungry, workers who had lost jobs, and veterans who had been overlooked while resources were mismanaged. Tyrus gave them a voice. He spoke not just as a commentator, but as a man who had lived through hardship himself. His words carried weight because they weren't rehearsed, they were raw, lived, and real. At one point, a woman in the audience stood up and shouted through tears, "Governor, my brother lost his life waiting for help that never came. Don't tell me about sacrifices." Her voice cracked, and the entire room seemed to hold its breath. Something inside Tim Walz shifted. His shoulders sagged. His tone softened. "I never wanted anyone to suffer," he said quietly. "I thought I was doing what needed to be done. But maybe I lost sight of the people behind the numbers." It was a rare moment of vulnerability, a politician stripped of his armor. Tyrus didn't let him off the hook, but he also didn't push further. He allowed silence to hang in the room, letting the governor's words, and the audience's pain, settle. By the end of the broadcast, there was no neat resolution. Walz didn't confess to every detail, and Tyrus didn't claim victory. But something had cracked open, a truth too big to be ignored. The story spread like wildfire, not because of scandal alone, but because of the raw humanity laid bare in front of millions. And that became the lesson viewers carried with them long after the cameras turned off. Power means nothing without accountability, anger means nothing without humility, and leadership means nothing without compassion. For Tim Walz, the night was a reckoning. For Tyrus, it was proof that truth spoken with courage can move mountains. And for the people watching at home, it was a reminder that their voices, their pain, and their stories deserve to be heard, even on the grandest stages. The segment ended not with applause, but with silence. A heavy, transformative silence. And sometimes, that speaks louder than anything else.